Live from the TV3 studio, this is the District 55 Representative Republican Candidate 2012 Primary Debate. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to TV3's program bringing you the 4 Republican candidates for the District 55 seat in the Indiana House of Representatives. The top vote getter in the May 8th primary election will face Democrat David Moeller, who has no primary election opponent. The present District 55 representative, Republican Tom Noman, did not seek re-election. District 55 includes all of Fayette County and parts of Rush, Franklin, Decatur, and Ripley counties. The 100 members of the House of Representatives and the Senate's 50 members are responsible for enacting laws by which the state of Indiana is governed, all established by the State of Indiana Constitution, adopted in 1851. Now to introduce the candidates from left to right: Sam Harvey of Connersville, Fayette County; Bob White of Greensburg, Decatur County; Laura Williams of Greensburg, Decatur County; and Cindy Zemke of Oldenburg, Franklin County. Welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
Let's begin with opening statements. Sam, you're first.
Thank you, Fran. My name is Sam Harvey, and I want to be your next state representative because I want to get people back to work and grow our economy. You know, I've lived in Connersville all my life, the last 59, almost 60 years, and I've seen the good times here, and I've seen the last 20 years. I've seen the decline we've had in our employment. I've faced that myself. I worked at H.H. Robertson starting when I was in high school until they left town in 1989. Had the opportunity to move with them to Pittsburgh, but decided that I wanted to raise my family here in Connersville, and I'm glad I did. I was very fortunate to find employment here. I've been unemployed, but throughout the last 20-some years, I have been able to maintain steady employment here in Connersville. I want that again. I believe that we can bring work back here to Connersville, and we have to do that through workforce development. You know, today's employers need people that can not only work with their minds, but work with their hands too. Today's equipment in factories, all is computer operated. So we have great resources right here in Fayette County, the Whitewater Career Center, as well as Ivy Tech, both here and regional campuses in Richmond that many people attend. I believe in order to bring business here that we do need a developed workforce. And as state representative, I would promote policies that would encourage people to get technical and vocational training that they need so that we can once again make things here in the Whitewater Valley. The other thing we need to do to bring business here is to keep taxes low and stop the burdensome regulations on our businesses. Indiana leads the way, I believe, but still we can do more, and this part of the state seems to have been ignored throughout the years. As I travel around the district, I see a lot of empty houses. If we get people back to work, we can get them back in those homes, paying income taxes again, paying property taxes. You know, we don't need more taxes, we just need more taxpayers. Another thing that I think we really need to work on is the problem of substance abuse. We see it here in our community all the time with in the newspaper, seeing people being arrested for using drugs, selling drugs, and it seems like it's a revolving door. Now, our law enforcement does a good job, and they do their job, but these people get out in 6 months, they're right back to it. Let's help those that really need help, punish those that need punished, but maybe through boot camp, through problem-solving courts, we can get people the help they need to become productive members of society again. We've had a lot of crime, burglaries, and it's all related, I believe, to the problem with drugs. It affects us in our workplace, it affects us everywhere. So somehow the state of Indiana has to find a way to help people that need help and that want help. As your state representative, I will be here to listen. You know, they meet in a long session and a short session, no more than 4 months at a time, but it is a year-round position, and I would be here to listen to the constituents and be there for you and be your common sense voice in Indianapolis. Once again, my name is Sam Harvey, and I want to be your next state representative because I want to get people back to work and grow our economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Bob?
Thank you, Fran. During my 8 years of service in the United States Department of Agriculture as an appointee of President George W. Bush, I traveled into every county of this great state, working with thousands of local leaders on economic and community development. The most important lesson I learned was that everything, and I mean everything, revolves around people having well-paying jobs. Our basic human needs, education, churches, nonprofits, infrastructure, and emergency services all depend on funding from workers contributing to the local economy. Albert Einstein summarized it best. We cannot solve the problems of today at the same level of thinking we were at when we created them. I am the only candidate here to release a blueprint which offers innovative solutions and ideas. We must be willing to try new ideas and create a pro-growth strategy that will increase income, the number of jobs, and the quality of life for people of this district and the state of Indiana. The blueprint offers my ideas on 3 major areas: economic and community development, access to quality health services, and restoring integrity in government. While at the USDA, I helped secure $4 billion of targeted funding for Indiana, of which $30 million was invested in the 5 counties of House District 55. Fayette County received over $1.3 million for economic development. Your taxpayers at work. 95% of that funding was from loans, so that's still making money for all of us. Government does not create jobs, but government can assist in creating the atmosphere and the infrastructure to attract those well-paying jobs. My experience and background will allow me to hit the ground running at the State House on your behalf. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Laura?
Well, thank you, Fran, and thank you to the people of Connersville for having us here this evening and giving us this opportunity to speak directly to the voters of Fayette County. I am Laura Williams, and I'm a candidate for state representative in House District 55 because I know how important it is that we have good, qualified people representing us in the legislature. My background is in small business. I'm an attorney, and I have my own law practice in Decatur County. I was also a large part of our family restaurant business, Heritage Acres, for the 10 years that we ran that business. I also grew up on the farm, and I now manage our family farm. And I'm a mom. My kids are 4 and 8. With my background, I have the experience, the knowledge, and the common sense to be the best representative for this district. And those who believe in me have endorsed me. I have earned the endorsement of the Indiana Right to Life. I've earned the endorsement of the Indiana Family Action PAC. And I'm also the only candidate in House District 55 to earn the endorsement of Indiana Farm Bureau Elect PAC. I know that good jobs will be crucial for the future of this district. We have to make Indiana the most appealing place to do business for both big business and small business. And we'll do that with a state government that's committed to lower taxes, less red tape, and good, smart budgeting. That's the formula that will create the jobs that we need. And that's what I will fight for in the Indiana legislature. Government does not need to be creating jobs, but government does need to create the environment that will encourage good jobs and strengthen our community. So my goal will be to get government out of the way so that business can do its job. I know, too, that the strength of our families is really the foundation of our community. When we take the values that we learn and hold dear in our family settings and we apply them in other areas of our lives, we succeed. We set goals, and then we take the initiative to accomplish them. We work hard, and we do our best in every task we take on, and we do the right thing in every circumstance. Those are the values that I will take with me to the Indiana legislature, and I'll work hard to strengthen those values, not only in the legislature, but also in our communities. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening. I hope I can answer your questions in a manner that will earn your trust and confidence, and especially your vote on May 8th.
Thank you, Laura. Cindy?
Thank you so much for having us here tonight. I'm Cindy Zimke from Oldenburg, and grew up Cindy Meyer in Hamburg, the 8th of 9 kids on a farm. As I've knocked on doors all of these months, I've met a lot of Meyers and are related somehow many generations back. I was blessed with having parents who taught us all at an early age how to work hard, have strong faith and strong family, and also that we could make a difference in our world and in our communities, and all 9 of us have managed to do that. My interest in running for state office has occurred as a concerned citizen and employer. I own the Brauhaus restaurant in Oldenburg. I've owned it for 10 years, and Brauhaus on the beach at Lake Santee, which is a seasonal restaurant. I have 40 employees and contribute a great deal to the communities and in all of the counties in this district. I've been blessed with the success of having a good customer base and really great employees. And so I know that job creation is certainly possible with Hoosiers who have always been known to be such good hard workers. One of my biggest concerns is trying to get people off of our entitlement systems, or I should say social programs, and want to go back to work. Making these programs efficient and viable and get rid of the fraud and the waste involved. I state that I am a fiscal federalist. I believe that our government programs that are shared, state and federal, need to be brought back to the state level and administered well at the state level, which Indiana has proven we're able to do with a much smaller and more efficient government. You don't spend years in business without looking at all of the inefficiencies, especially in our bloated federal government, and saying, nobody can succeed that way. I could never have succeeded in selling chicken if I ran it like our government. I feel blessed to have met all of the hundreds of people that my husband Tim and I have met going door to door. My interest is certainly sincere. I believe I could contribute, and I am an extremely hard worker. I have had 25 years in the business sector. Prior to 10 years of owning the Brauhaus, I was in drugstore business with a large drugstore group for 10 years as director of store business systems as well as loss prevention. I traveled nationally, and I do know efficiencies in business, and I certainly know that they could be applied to government. So I will, again, I'm married to Tim. I have 2 sons, Sean and Connor, who are teenagers and college students. And I'm happy to be here and ask for the votes of the people from Connersville. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. As you travel to District 55, what's the top concerns of your constituents? Bob, we'll begin with you.
Jobs and the economy.
And your answer?
Basically, we need to create economic and community development is basically vital to forge, in order to forge new opportunities for our various small towns that are involved around House District 55. We must be willing to try new ideas. State and local government must create a pro-growth strategy that will help increase incomes and the number of jobs and the quality of life in our region. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. Creating wealth is one way to do that, and a lot of small entrepreneurs around the district, they may just need a little bit of help to get started. And in some cases, we don't have a pro-growth strategy in those smaller communities.
Thank you, Bob. Laura, what do the people that you talk to, what are their top concerns?
No question, jobs, the economy, taxes, people are concerned about their pocketbooks.
Yes.
And I agree. Jobs are the biggest concern for particularly this part of the state and the nation. I think Indiana is leading the nation in creating jobs, and we are set. We are ready to take off. As soon as the national economy can come back just a little bit, I think Indiana will be in a good position to create a number of jobs very quickly. But right now, we still need jobs. And I think our state government can encourage those jobs. Our state government can set the stage for those jobs to come back right now by keeping taxes low. We're already attracting businesses from Illinois. Illinois has increased their corporate income tax, and Indiana decreased ours. And we're seeing companies coming here from Illinois. So keeping our taxes low, keeping our regulations to a minimum, making it easy for businesses to survive and thrive, and by encouraging small business. About 85% of employers are small businesses, and I believe we really have to encourage and strengthen those small businesses so that they can employ, even if they only employ 4 or 5 people, those are 4 or 5 jobs that the community didn't have before, and those small businesses then become a part of the community, and they support the community not only by providing jobs, but also by supporting our Little League teams and becoming a part of the parades in town and sponsoring a booth at the fairs. Those are really the backbone of our communities. Jobs and pocketbook issues are very important.
Thank you, Laura. Cindy, what do the people that you talk to?
Well, and I think it's resounding, as everyone has
Yes.
said. And even though this is candidacy for a state rep position, everyone just shows so much disfavor with our federal government, and it's hard to get away from that. And, you know, again, when I see the congressional candidates, I say, please, please get in there and make a difference in the federal government so we can do our part at the state level. Indiana is capable of so much if those regulations and so much of that bureaucracy is gone. And every door I hit, it's all starts with displeasure with the federal government. As far as jobs go, I've said before, and spending as much time in Connersville as I have, and knowing that it's such a high unemployment rate, I think more than any of the counties in the state.
Yes.
I've said, you know, I've told people, you want to open a restaurant? I'll come help you get the capital, and I'll get you running. I've done it before, and I can do it in my sleep. I never want anyone afraid to try to make their dreams come true by going into business for themselves. It's very frightening. It was very frightening for me. And you put your capital on the line, or you have to raise capital. But if you put forth a quality product with great service at a great value, it certainly is possible. I would really hope that the folks in Connersville would try to look at small business opportunities. Again, looking at the avenues with SBA loans or with their legislators to try to get some encouragement to do that. Of course, we know we need the big companies as the Carbon Motors, and I don't know where that stands at this point. Yes, if somebody could pull off another Honda, it would be a savior. But I never want people to lose faith in small business. Again, my involvement in our communities in my area is all of our small business owners is very instrumental to the communities because, again, like Laura said, we support the nonprofit programs and the schools and the churches, and especially in small communities you find that. So I want that solid community feeling like that I was blessed to have had over 50 years ago when I was a young girl. And again, jobs, drug use is a huge, huge problem and a huge concern. I know many parents who've dealt with it. I've dealt with it on a personal level with my family. And I do believe that law enforcement is really working diligently to try to get a handle on that situation as well.
Thank you, Cindy. Sam, what do the people that you talk to, what their top concerns?
Well, Fran, I'm going to make it unanimous here, and it is getting people back to
Yes.
work and doing something about our economy. You know, government doesn't really create jobs. If they create jobs, then they're taking from the private sector, and whatever they take, whatever they give somebody, they have to take it from somebody else, that the taxpayers. But the government can have incentives for business. I think one thing we need to do is take care of our existing businesses. You know, we do go out and try to recruit and bring in new business, which is great, but I really think we need to take care of our existing business. We do have some long-time businesses here in town and in the area, in the district, and we need to make it to where they want to stay here and continue to grow, and to grow from within, so that they can hire people. Once again, it is private sector jobs, and we track those private sector jobs by keeping taxes low. Sometimes my thinking on taxing businesses is that businesses really don't pay taxes. It's the consumer, it's their customer that ultimately pays their taxes for them. So it has to be competitive, a competitive environment with low taxes in order to maintain our current businesses. You know, I really think that District 55 and Fayette County here is a great place to raise a family, but we've seen too many of our young people move away because the employment is not here. And we certainly, as a legislature, have to find ways to maintain jobs and to create environment for new jobs to come here. So back to some of the theme that I've talked about, and that is through workforce development, through vocational and technical education. We emphasize college education, and college education is great. Both of my sons, both have graduated from college, and I'm very proud of that. But it may not be for everybody, and once again, we have such great facilities here in Ivy Tech and in the Career Center and throughout the district that I would hope that we could find a way to make it easier for people to take advantage of those so that we can have jobs. Thank you, Fran.
Thank you, Sam. Cindy, Laura, and Bob, you folks live near Interstate 74, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
And that had to be a deciding factor, I believe, in the Honda people coming into your community. As you know, Connersville is not near an interstate. We have a connecting road north of Connersville, State Road 1, which is not the easiest road to navigate. There has been discussion over the years with state and local officials of the possibility of improving that road to 4 lanes, perhaps straightening it. Are you in favor of that? Laura, what could you do to help us get that done with NDOT?
Well, first of all, I would want to make sure that those who are involved with the land that surrounds that road would be in favor of it. There are a number of things that can be done to improve transportation. Perhaps there are multiple routes that can be encouraged. Mm-hmm. But State Road 1, if that's the best route, the most efficient route, and the most effective route, typically where it is needed, there are landowners who are more than willing to offer their land for that greater economic good. I think that is the responsibility of the elected officials, the state representatives and state senators for the area, to be an advocate for the things in the area that would help economic development.
Yes.
And if that is seen as a top priority for Connersville, for Fayette County, then I think it would be my obligation as your state representative to work on behalf of that and to encourage that and to encourage NDOT to get that done as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Laura. Cindy, how would you help us get that done?
Well, that certainly would be the quickest and easiest way, again, when you're talking about eminent domain issues. If people are not for that, you know, it's their homes you're talking about and their land. I would certainly think that it would help bring in larger industry if it were more viable form of transportation. If we went back to the rail, that would be the ticket. keep the trains running all the time. I would hope that in the past you had viable industry here. I don't know how much of a concern it was at the time when Visteon was here, the other plants, that the transportation issue was. I would certainly hope that the governor on down would make this a priority, knowing that this area needs it so badly.
Sam, what's your answer to that?
Fran, back in the late 80s when I was city engineer, we had studied that and had also looked at and talked to people about another road bigger than State Road 1, one that would connect I-69 at Fort Wayne all the way down to I-74 down in Dearborn County, and it would come right through this area, would open up this whole eastern side of the state. And I think that's something that with major moves could possibly be looked at again. As far as straightening and widening State Road 1, I would work closely with the District 56 state representative, since most of that highway is in District 56 once you get out of Fayette County, the increased miles for that. But certainly we need to work with the state, work with NDOT, work with local officials, both here in the city, the county, and in Wayne County, along with the District 56 representative, to at least try to widen and straighten Stantz Curve.
Thank you, Sam. In 2007, a bipartisan group had a commission, and they urged restructuring of county government.
You didn't address Bob.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bob. Excuse me.
Thanks.
I'm sorry. I know you have some important
That's
input.
all right. Well, first of all, I'd like to go back to the economic development, and Cindy mentioned Honda, or as you did also. Honda is a once in a lifetime, once in a generation type of a deal, I guess, I would say. And what we're looking at for economic development is what we all three stated: when you have entrepreneurs and you have small businesses wanting to increase, it encompasses so much more than just the courting of a new company coming in or the president of your local company that wants to increase. You need to have the infrastructure intact. Sometimes that's broadband, not only regular utilities. You've got all that infrastructure. And another thing that a lot of people overlook is the health, safety, and welfare of the public itself. You're talking about EMTs, you're talking about firemen, you're talking about police, sheriff's department, and hospitals. Hospitals generate a tremendous amount of economic development. And if you don't have all of those in place, you're basically not going to get a second look as some of those companies are scanning the landscape on where they are going to go. The original question on State Road 1, in 2010, there was an intermodal study done for Connersville and Fayette County, and it discussed some of that. And one of the key points in there is, like Laura stated, is that you have to have all the landowners on board. Sam stated, and so did Cindy, that you have to have all the state officials, you have to have the local officials, and you might as well have your congressman on board too, because, and that is a lot of cats to herd. And you have to have them all walking the same line on what you want to do. But that decision is made at the local level on what they want to do. And then they go out and try and sell that to others, because it takes a lot of money to do those types of things, and most localities do not have that kind of a funding stream. So you go to NDOT, you go to the Federal Transportation Board, you go to all the different ways that you can find some money to make it happen.
Thank you, Bob. I'm sorry. Thanks for keeping me on schedule. Okay, I'd like to go back to the 2007 Bipartisan Commission. They urged restructuring of county government and the elimination of townships. That plan was to have a single county executive and his appointees do the work of, right now that we have auditor, assessor, recorder, sheriff, coroner, surveyor. This would affect a lot of local governments and a lot of office holders. Good idea, bad idea? Let's begin with you, Cindy.
I studied that when it came out, and again, being in business, you look at things and you look at efficiencies, and some of those things certainly did resound with me in regard to efficiencies only. We are based upon the fact of having government closest to the people. Mm-hmm. We did, of course, pass this session the nepotism law, which I know wasn't popular in some ways, but it also helped clarify a lot of issues that I think were issues. All you had to do is read the Indianapolis Star and see in the northern counties tremendous corruption and fraud that was occurring in township government. it's unfortunate that it affects the whole state when some of the other areas, are not operating well. With the nepotism law, I do agree with it. I don't believe that you should have people under your direct where you're allocating their funding. And I know it was difficult for the firefighters. They said that, they're volunteer firefighters and then could no longer be trustees. But those monies are allocated by that figure. And as any business, it's not always the smartest thing to have someone allocating funds to other areas under their control. And I do believe strongly in that. I believe, I've talked with many, many county employees and who work in all the courthouses. There is such a concern and such a frustration with them, especially with at the State House with the Department of Local Government Finance. We all know that. I think having a really good liaison between the county people, who, like myself, who knows business systems really well, working with that department would clarify a lot of issues. I think communication is horrendous, and they are not always on the same page. There was talk before when I even mentioned that I had read Shepard Kernan and said, she agrees with that, she's wrong. And I never did say I agreed with it. I said everything can be looked at, every auditor and clerk can be talked to saying, okay, let me see your business system. How does it work? How does it interact with the state? What is the communication between the two of you? There are always efficiencies that can be put into place. And that is the aspect of that report that I did agree with.
Thank you, Cindy. Sam, your feeling on reforming county government?
Well, I believe that government closest to the people is best. I've served as president of the Connersville Township Advisory Board for over 20 years, no longer in that capacity. I do believe that township government has gotten a bad name because of things that have gone on, for instance, in Center Township in Indianapolis or in Lake County, where people are, the advisory board members are given huge salaries and automobiles to drive. That I think too many times in state government that we let the tail wag the dog, and the old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it's not broke here, then don't fix it. If it's broke in Lake County or Allen County or Marion County, then let's find a way to fix that. I do believe that it could be up to the people in each individual county if they wanted to consolidate some township services. I know that here in Fayette County and some of the smaller townships that the township trustee and the advisory board don't really have that much business, but I do know that the Connersville Township trustee as well as the Harrison Township trustee are busy. They maintain offices other than in their home, and I think that they perform a good function. As far as consolidating at the courthouse, I think there are ways maybe to improve some efficiency, but to go to a county executive, I think we should stay as it is with the 3-commissioner system. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Bob, your feeling on that?
Well, I read through the Kernan-Shepard report, and like Cindy and Sam, I agree with some points, and other points I do not. Government closest to the people is the best.
Yes.
And especially here in southeastern Indiana. However, you look at Jefferson County, Marion County, Tippecanoe, Allen, possibly Lake and Porter, if they want to consolidate, that's up to them. It's their local decision. And at the State House, what the legislators need to remember is the key to that is giving the counties flexibility to do what they want. In talking with a lot of county elected officials, communication was a tough one, especially with the DLF, Department of Local Finance, because all communities have to coordinate their expenditures and their budgets with them, and sometimes that communication doesn't go well. And so there are a lot of inefficiencies, and I think better communication is occurring as we speak in some areas. In others it's not, but there's a lot of inefficiencies that can be worked on and gotten better.
Thank you. Laura, let's get your take on this question.
I support efficiency and effectiveness at all levels of government. and that goes from township government all the way to the White House. As far as reforming local government in Indiana, I know that our township government does serve a purpose, particularly here in more rural counties, as we see in House District 55. I know that our township trustees serve a large purpose in their townships. They have a great deal of responsibilities with their fire departments, and I think many of our fire departments are volunteer fire departments, and they serve a purpose that I don't believe any of our counties can afford to pay. So I would hate to see our volunteer fire departments go away in support of consolidating government. And I think our township trustees are the ones who are looking out for the volunteer fire departments most of the time. I also know that township and trustees will typically handle poor relief. And I know that in my township, in Clay Township in Decatur County, there are people who will go to their neighbor, who is their township trustee, who will ask for a one-time assistance, and they'll return services to the township to pay for the help that they get with their utility bill or whatever it may be. But those people would likely not go to the county courthouse, stand in line, fill out the paperwork, and do those things. They would be more likely to go without than to ask for that assistance if it were at the county level. So I don't want to see our township trustees eliminated. I do want to see efficiencies and effectiveness and also accountability at the trustee level, at the township level. Their budgets need to be open and available for inspection and review. And at the county level, as far as consolidating those offices, I don't want to see Indiana institute a one-size-fits-all solution, because as has been said at this table before, what works for Marion County or Lake County does not necessarily work for Fayette County or for Rush County. And it's important that we remember that things are different in the more rural counties, and we need to make sure that the solutions that are offered in the legislature will fit in these rural counties and in House District 55.
Fran, may I add
Yes, certainly,
something
Sam.
Laura mentioned accountability and open books and all that. As having served as president of the Connersville Township Board, our books were always open. We had hearings. No one ever came, but we had advertised hearings. So I think that our trustees do a good job, and as well as our county council and our commissioners of by law, having open books.
Thank you, Sam. Anyone else have a comment that they would
agree with that?
Okay, thank you. The recent legislature enacted a statewide smoking ban. Do you folks think that was a wise move? Was it the best ban that they could have put into effect? It's been known as a watered-down smoking ban. What's your opinion of that? Do you know, I might read, it prohibits smoking in public places, enclosed areas of a place of employment, in certain state vehicles within 8 feet of a public entrance to a public place or place of employment. It allows smoking, gaming facilities, cigar and hookah bars, fraternal, social, and veterans clubs, tobacco stores, bars and taverns, cigar manufacturing facilities, and cigar specialty stores. Is that ban, was it worthwhile?
I'm not sure what a hookah store is.
I don't know either. I've never been in one, I don't believe. What are your thoughts?
Well, I guess there are so many exemptions.
Absolutely.
That why bother? However, I kind of take the libertarian point of view on this. I think that if I own a business, like Cindy has a restaurant, and if it's my restaurant and I want to allow my patrons to smoke, and I put a sign at the door, enter at your own risk, then this is a smoking facility, then it's up to you whether you come in there or not.
Yes.
However, for publicly owned buildings, I think that's great. As a former smoker, I quit smoking in '96. Best thing I ever did. I can't stand to be around it, but I choose to be in places where I'm not around it. So in public places, publicly owned facilities, yes, the smoking ban is great. Privately owned places, if it's your business and you post it that it's a smoking facility, then I think that's the way it should be.
Thank you, Sam. Bob, your take
That's
on
about
that?
as good as it gets, Sam. I mean, I agree, and Fran, you stated it. It was so watered down
Yes.
that, and then that begs the next question, who's going to enforce what they do have now? If they've got this new smoking ban, I mean, are we going to have police officers writing citations for smoking on the sidewalk in the public as opposed to letting the crook rob the bank? I mean, that's a wild example, but still, who's going to enforce it? That's what it kind of boils down to me. But in public places, I agree with it. In public buildings.
Laura?
I am not a smoker, and I don't care to be around smokers.
Yes.
And I don't care to go into a restaurant that allows smoking. However, I'm also a business owner, and I want to know that inside my business, I can choose to do what I need to do as a business. And if I choose to allow my employees to smoke in my business that's privately owned, I think I should have the right to do that. I agree that in public places, the government does have jurisdiction over public buildings, public lands, and I think in those areas, the government has the right to say, or has the authority to say, that there should be no smoking there. And that is a public health issue, and the state government has an interest in regulating smoking on public grounds. I get concerned when the state government begins to reach inside my private business. I have never allowed smoking inside my business, but that's been my choice as a business owner. I'm also a little concerned about the 8 feet, that you have to be more than 8 feet from the door in order to smoke. I have had employees who do smoke, and as I said, they've never been permitted to smoke inside the office, but they can step outside. They have to go on their breaks, and they can use those breaks to smoke. Well, the more we say they have to be 8 feet, or next time it's 15 feet, or next time it's 25 feet, then that's extending their breaks that much longer, and their productivity is going to go down even further. So I get concerned when our government reaches inside our private businesses and tells us what we can and cannot do. I would hate to see the next thing being that we can't serve fried food inside a restaurant. So, that gives me concern. There were also parts of the law that I'm not sure were well written, and I believe that it will probably be contested, and I think that it will probably be reviewed in the next few years.
Okay, thank you, Laura. Cindy, you're a businesswoman. Give us your take on this smoking ban.
Well, I agree with everyone else, of course. I do have restaurants that I allow smoking in the bar of Brauhaus in Oldenburg, and I feel that as a business owner, that is my right. At my Lake Santee restaurant, it's a very small facility, and I do not allow any smoking in the building. They can go outside on the deck. When it comes to private business, that is our business. And it's certainly starting to feel a bit like a nanny state. At times I feel like I'm in California when I'm reading some of these things. But, we want to build our business. We want people to engage in small business and opening businesses.
Yes.
Government must stop trying to run private sector and scaring everybody away from this. So.
Thanks, Cindy. Is government too big, Bob?
That depends. Who you ask. I'd say, from a federal standpoint, I would say yes, it is. From a state standpoint, we're down to, I think, Governor Daniels said 1974 levels for state employees. Local numbers, I believe that Indiana was in the top 5 of locally elected officials in the United States as far as numbers go. But that all boils down to the discussion we had earlier on local government. If you can find inefficiencies and work effectively, then go for it and do what you can do. But once again, it's a local decision on who you need to do things, what you need to get done. But like I say, from a federal standpoint, When I worked at USDA, we had I had a $7 million budget with 121 people. When I left, there were 98 people, and our budget was below $7 million. So government as a whole is starting to shrink, albeit probably not fast enough. But when a government worker or state or federal makes more than the private industry, then something's wrong with the system, and that needs to be reversed. And I think that most people, and a lot of people that I've talked to, believe that that is starting to occur.
Think about it. Laura, is government too big in your opinion?
I believe in the old adage that a government that's big enough to give you everything you want is big enough to take everything you have. And I agree that Governor Daniels has made some very, very difficult decisions and has kept state government to a minimum and has actually decreased the number of employees in the state government, and I think that's admirable. We have created a society that has become dependent on our government for anything we want, and I don't think that's good for us. We have community interests and community organizations that can and do step up and provide many services that people have become reliant on the government for instead. And I think that our communities can provide those services in a much more efficient and more effective way, and in a way that builds back our communities and doesn't make us dependent, but is more encouraging to the citizens as well. So I think our federal government has gotten out of control. I think our state government is getting under control, but I think the answer really lies in our communities.
Thank you, Laura. Cindy, is there too much duplication in government?
Yes.
Hey, one-word answer.
Yes, way too much. Again, as I spoke to earlier about fiscal federalism, say take Medicaid program, now that Indiana has a lean and mean state government, I believe that when we get our federal government in control with good leadership, where they get rid of some of that duplication, give it back to the state can effectively administer this and get rid of the inefficiencies and the waste. You're talking about 2 levels of regulation, 2 levels of bureaucracy. When Indiana did the defunding of Planned Parenthood, and then the federal government says, well, we don't know if we'll cut your money off. That's not their money, that's Hoosier money. We paid it in. Same thing with Department of Education and Department of Transportation. Indiana, with our Governor Daniels, has again gotten our levels down to the 1970s levels. When I was a 19-year-old girl, I moved to Indianapolis out of high school and went to work for the state government, first for the state tax board, and then for central data processing. Things were a lot different then. I remember, again, it was a long time ago, ice skating on the canal at lunchtime. As I visit the state offices with my business, whether the few times I've been for liquor license renewal or such, I am amazed at the efficiencies that are in place then, versus 30-some years ago when I worked there as a young girl. But if we carry on in the vein that Governor Daniels has and keep all of those in place, we can't rest on our laurels just because he has finished his 8 years. We can't go in and say, okay, it's time to spend again. Mitch is gone. It can't happen. So I think I'm quite clear on my view on that.
Thank you, Cindy. Sam, what can we do to reduce government?
Well, I think that the biggest problem is at the federal level, and I do agree with the others that over the last 8 years that Governor Daniels has reduced the size of government. And Fran, you as a city councilman, you know how tough it is to make a budget here in town. The difference between the local and the state versus the federal government is that the federal government can print their own money. The state and municipalities, they have to have a balanced budget. There's no way around it. And unfortunately, it's meant cutting back some services. losing as many employees as we've had in the past through attrition and other means, and cutting back on some of their benefits. But as I said before, that government is not in the business to create jobs in the government sector, but to help create jobs in the private sector. So anything that they take away from one to pay to one person, they have to take from another. Government is really only here to do what we cannot do for ourselves: infrastructure, roads, taking care of that kind of thing, building bridges. There is some duplication that I see, having served on the township board, in the amount of different agencies that can provide assistance. And I'm not saying that I don't want to assist the poor or not assist those that need it, but when you have so much duplication of different services where people can go and get the same thing, why not try to consolidate some of that and not have 4 or 5 different agencies where you can go get what your basic daily needs may be. So yes, I think there are ways to continue to trim government, and government is too big, but I think it starts in Washington, and we have done a pretty good job here in Indiana. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. It's about time to close the program, so closing statements coming up. Cindy, we'll begin with you.
Well, again, I would be honored to serve the people of this district. I visited every township in the area and learned a lot, and it made me so proud, again, to know every road, every street. And I believe sincerely in citizen legislation and what it stands for and what it's always stood for. And it's being of the people and understanding the people and being their voice that they're the most comfortable with and the most accessible voice. I certainly do believe that I would be that, and I would be honored to serve.
Thank you. Laura, your closing statement.
Thank you, Fran. We all know these are uncertain economic times, and as families struggle, we need leaders at the State House who will protect our taxpayers and get our economy back on track. I'm a pro-life conservative Republican, and I'm running for the state legislature to do just that. I will work hard to look out for the interests of the people of House District 55. I have a vested interest in making sure that the future of District 55 is the best that it can be, because I'm raising my family here, and I want nothing more than for my kids to be able to raise their families here too. But I know for that to happen, we have to have excellent leaders at all levels of the government, and I want to be able to provide that leadership at the State House for my family and for all of House District 55. I give you my word that I will work hard every day to lead by example and to strive for excellence and integrity in all that I do. And I will work for you. Again, I'm Laura Williams, and I ask for your vote on May 8th.
Thank you, Laura. Bob, your closing statement.
Thank you, Fran. Although I have never been involved in politics, I have been a trustworthy public servant. And that is why current leaders like Senator Brant Hirschman, State Representative Bob Cherry, and Greensburg Mayor Gary Herbert endorsed me for state representative. I am the only candidate in this race to lay out a blueprint for restoring integrity in government. One of the great moments of my life was when I stood in the Rose Garden at the White House and watched the President of the United States sign a bill into law that I helped write over a period of 2 years. I would be honored to continue my public service by working on your behalf at the State House as your state representative. Again, my name is Bob White. I ask for your vote on May 8th. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, Bob. Sam, your closing statement.
Thank you, Fran, and thanks for having us here tonight. You've heard from 3 of my good friends here tonight, yes. And we have become friends throughout this campaign. They're all good people. I'd like to remind you that I am the only candidate from Fayette County, and Fayette County has the bulk of the population in this district. We've had some great representatives from here in the past. To name a few, Bob Gordon, Ralph Underwood, W.R. Hamilton, John King, more recently Steve Robbins, and Bob Hoffman. Bob Hoffman, a good friend and mentor of mine, who has endorsed me along with Bob Jackman. You know, I've lived and worked in this community for the last 59 years, worked in business here for 40 years, and I think I know the needs of this community. I want to use that business experience and the leadership I gained through 24 years in the Army National Guard to make this a better place and be your state representative. Once again, I ask you for your vote, ask you for your consideration, and I want you to know that I will be available 365 days a year for your needs, and I will listen to you. Once again, I'm Sam Harvey, and I want to be your next state representative because I want to get people back to work and grow our economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. You've been watching TV3's program of the 4 candidates vying for the nomination for the District 55 seat on the Republican ticket. They again are Sam Harvey, who you just heard, of Connersville, Fayette County, Bob White of Greensburg, Decatur County, Laura Williams of Greensburg, Decatur County, and Cindy Zemke of Oldenburg, Franklin County. A reminder that TV3 will have complete coverage of the election results beginning at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, May 8th, Election Day. Be sure to tune in. Thanks to all of you for appearing tonight, and good evening.
Thank you, Brad.